My name is Dan Fowler. I'm president of the Apartment Owners Association, and I want to welcome you today. We've got a lot of good things in store for you with our primary speaker that's coming up. I was just reading some news this morning, and a tenant is wanted for stabbing a homeowner's son in Norwalk. The sheriff, of course, has identified the suspect as 25-year-old Javier Ortega. 25-year-old Javier Ortega is a suspect, and he broke into the apartment owner's home, came through the back door, and the apartment owner wasn't there, but his 21-year-old son was there. He stabbed his son a couple times. The son ran out of the house, according to the news article, ran out of the house. The guy grabbed the son's keys to his car, took his car and ran into the son a couple times with the car and drove off. The car was found later that night. So they're out looking for this suspect, who is Javier Ortega. If you know Javier and you know where he is, please call the sheriff's office. The number there is 562-863-8711. That's 562-863-8711 if you can help in identifying and finding where he is, or you know where he is. Maybe you know a friend or you are a friend. And this guy needs to be gone. He's dangerous. He's angry. He was being evicted from the apartment, and that's why he was after the apartment owner. And you're an apartment owner. You know what? They're giving this hero pay to the grocery stores. They ought to give us pay. Hero pay for, you know what? We're solving one of the worst problems, biggest problems next to the virus in the state, and that's housing. And you provide housing. We're the solution to the biggest problem they have. Where's our hero pay? Where's our dangerous job pay? What they ought to do, or what I'd propose they do if I were sitting down with the governor, I would say, hey, why don't you let every apartment owner raise the rent to fair market price? I mean, after all, look what we're doing for the state of California right now. And I don't mean to talk down the grocery store people or the grocery stores, but we're providing something even more lasting than the grocery stores. Of course, you got to have food to eat too. You got to have both of them, don't you? So if they're going to give one, they tell us we're all in this together. And if we're in this together, of course, we ought to get some extra pay also. That's one thing. Pacific Legal Foundation, of course, as we mentioned to you last week, has filed a lawsuit against this eviction thing, this free rent thing that the state is pushing upon you as a housing provider, that you're providing housing for the consumers, and they're pushing this on us. And so what we suggest that you do, write a letter to the governor. Write a letter to the governor. I'm going to put his address up here on the screen, and ask him and tell him, hey, to be fair, if we're all in this together, and I don't believe we are all in this together, but if we're all in this together, then why don't we all pay for this free rent that we're giving to those tenants who are in need? And there are certainly some that are on need. There are also some apartment owners that you never hear about that are in great need. I had a man call me yesterday, and he has a 6-unit apartment building. He's retired. They depend upon the income from their units. 2 of the people in the units won't pay their rent. One of them works for the post office, has a good job, goes to work every day. She doesn't want to pay rent, so she doesn't pay rent. Thank you, Mr. Governor. Thank you, Mr. Politician, for thinking that we can live in a socialist society and have free rent for everybody and provide everybody those things to go with it. And we're going to get up on the screen there the governor's address so that we can write him a letter. Can we get that up on the screen? Thank you. Mailing address to the governor. Write the governor a letter. Tell him they need to issue vouchers for tenants. If a tenant is really in need, and if the politicians really think that tenant should have help, then let's all go together and let's have the state provide that help. with him and send him a voucher so that he can give it to the owner so the owner can pay his bill and his mortgage. The owner that called me just yesterday, he was saying, hey, I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to pay my tax. I can't pay all these other things that are out there right now. So with vouchers, the owner would be taken care of, and the tenants also would be taken care of. So give the governor that idea. Here's his address here. If you want to call him on the phone, you could also call him on the phone. Write him a letter and tell him. You say, oh, somebody else will write a letter. Well, we have over 20,000 members, and if all of them would write a letter, the governor would be sitting up and listening. And I think right now is a good time anyway. The governor is listening right now because of this recall that's taking place. And he's trying to decide and find out how he can keep his office. So write him. Give him the idea to do that with the rent vouchers. And if you'll also, we're looking at a lawsuit. A lawsuit has been filed by Pacific Legal Foundation against this free rent. However, it's for a commercial property. But if they win that case, they'll be able to use that case to go against the free rent for apartment owners and you. And so we're going to need to file another lawsuit. We've given Pacific Legal Foundation, supported them with tens of thousands of dollars that you have donated. We're asking every apartment owner to donate at least $1,000. We need to build up a war chest of $500,000 to $1 million with the idea of when a lawsuit is filed, we can go all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, we might not make it. We may be turned down. However, with 3 new judges up there, we have a much better chance now than ever before. We're gonna turn everything. We're gonna show. Can I get that up on the screen? Where to make that donation? Can I get up on the screen to make the donation? So if you know how to do it, you can go to the AOAUSA.com/PAC, and you can go there and make your donation. You can also donate by writing in to the home office, and we'll put the address up there for you now. Make your checks payable to the AOA PAC or AOA Political Action Committee and send it to the Sepulveda Boulevard address in Van Nuys. Send your donations in today. The sooner we get this fund built up, the sooner we'll be able to file a lawsuit and go ahead with it. Donate at least $100 a unit. If you only have a duplex, donate at least $200 so we can get this thing going. It'll cost you $25,000 if you were to file a lawsuit on your own. So we're asking you to do this. I want to introduce you to Mr. Jeff Faller, Vice President of AOA, and he'll be introducing our speakers. Should have a real good program today. Thank you for being here, and thank you for tuning in.
Hey, welcome everybody. It's great to have you with us today. And we do have a great program for you. There's going to be a real estate market, a housing market update for you, as well as you'll hear about tenants' rights post-COVID-19 and evictions and possession and collections as well. So you'll want to listen to the whole entire thing today. And then we also have at the end, we'll have a live question and answer. So keep those questions till the end, and then ask the questions at the end for us. And if you're on the AOA.com website, at the bottom right, there's a little help button, and you can click on that and put your question in, and they'll funnel that to me. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, they'll gather those questions and get them to me. Then I'll be able to give those questions to our speaker today. And again, AOA is here for you. We want to keep you in the know with everything that's going on in the industry. And so today I'm excited because I think we're really going to be able to do that for you and help you from making big boo-boos with your tenants, and also ways that that you can make more money too. So this, before we get to it though, next week we have 2 different programs, one at 10 and one at 11:30. The first one is on partial exchanges. The second one is just, there's new technology that can help you increase your NOI or ROI. And so you'll want to tune in next week and just see how technology can help, create a whole nother income stream for you. So don't miss that one for sure. Again, this is how we keep you in the know. There's ways we want to help you make more money. We want to help you save more money. We want to make things easier for you as you're providing housing for others. So please join AOA. $79 a year. There's no penalty for having lots of units. You can join. It's just one flat fee. You get the magazine. You get so much. But one thing that I do want to highlight is that we have something called document screening. And you may ask, well, what's document screening? Well, you have tenant screening because you need to know about them, but then you also need to know about document screening, which is their pay stubs and their bank statements. Did you know that for $8.95, you could fake pay stubs on the internet? There's programs that do that. If you weren't aware of that, you are aware of it now. And so what you want to do is when you're screening your applicants, you're going to want them to give you a PDF of their bank statement directly downloaded from their bank, along with a pay stub directly downloaded. And those two things you can upload in your membership account. You just go in, you upload it, you put it in there, you submit that, and then within 24 hours, you'll get an answer back. AI-based technology screens these documents, tells you if it's a fake, tells you if it's real, and that way you'll be able to avoid really bad tenants. And that's what we all need to do. That's going to help you save lots of money. And what they say right now is that half of evictions actually start with fraud in the application process. So we can catch that fraud by verifying their identity and their credit for real instead of just what they give you. They may hand you something, but Photoshop, sorry folks, everybody knows Photoshop these days. They can fake a document so easy. It's so easy now. So you want to get it directly, and then also just those documents. So take care of that and sign up for the AOA Tenant Screen if you haven't already. So today's sponsor is Reynolds Realty Advisors. They are a full service firm, even property management company, and even if you want to add an ADU, they could even do that to the property that you have. So if you're already you're already a client of theirs, they could even do an ADU for you. This is amazing what they can do. Seasoned veterans, over 40 years of experience. They manage over 1,000 units, and they are ready to serve you. They're ready to add your properties to what they're doing and increase the return on what those properties can do for you. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you today the founder and president of Reynolds Realty Advisors. She's seasoned, and she has spent time in the financial sector. She's worked with Shea Homes, and she's had lots of experiences and just very sharp. She's going to give you a great update today. It's my pleasure to introduce to you today Elizabeth Reynolds.
Thank you so much, Jeff, and thank you everybody from AOA. I'm thrilled to be here, and thank you for everybody joining us. Happy Thursday. It's a beautiful sunny day. I have 20 minutes with you where we have a fun-filled, packed content, a presentation to cover a bit about the market and how COVID has impacted the multifamily market, as well as the new bill SB 91. I have Olga Bravo with me. She's our operations manager with Reynolds Realty Advisors, and she'll be in the chat room answering questions as fast as possible. And as mentioned earlier, we will have the open Q&A at the end. So I look forward to talking with you after the presentation. We will be making it available to you, so feel free to reach out to us, and Olga will be dropping all our contact information into the chat, and I'll share that with you on our slideshow as well. So the COVID impact on multifamily market, and is it time for professional property management? The guidelines are changing so rapidly, and there are so many things we need to adhere to. It's really a different world than it was when I first got into property management. It was when I was in college, and it's just so fast paced anymore. It's a wonder that these assets are so time consuming. So if you want more time and more money, give us a call. We can take care of all of that for you. That's what we're here for. So without further ado, we'll get into the market widens as we ended 2020 and some of those key highlights as it relates to the rental income received within multifamily by cities and various states. The chart off to the right highlights the big gaps and differences that were realized in rental income from the different geographical areas. Multifamily rents declined by 8% in December on a year-over-year basis, a 30 basis point decline from November. Overall rents declined by anywhere from $4 to $14.62, the largest one-month decline since the beginning of the pandemic, when the overall rents dropped only $5 back in April. The extreme differences in these gateway markets and the lower cost metropolitan areas continues. As you can see, the Inland Empire realized a 7.3% gain, and Sacramento realized a 6.1% gain in rental rates. So they've been sitting at the top for the last 4 months, whereas San Jose had a big drop of 13.7% and New York 11.7%. Puts them at the bottom of the list, whereas San Jose has been at the bottom of that list for the last 7 months consecutively. So you can really see the big differences with Orange County sitting square in the middle. It has a bit of diversity, so it hasn't really had a substantial loss or substantial gain. As we cover the employment and supply trends and the impact on the forecast of rental growth, we have a few key highlights for you here. The surge in the coronavirus cases ended a 7-month growth streak, and the economy lost about 140,000 jobs in December, sadly, with unemployment holding at 6.7%. The jobless claims remain elevated, with a 787,000 total claims for the week ending in January 2nd. The pandemic relief bill did provide much needed assistance to landlords and tenants. And we certainly realized the benefit of that relief as well with some of our properties. It was wonderful, and more to come with SB 91. That is the great news. Some of the driving factors of some of those areas, cities, counties that haven't performed so well with, the downturn in the tourism, the tourist industries, which has really affected restaurants, nightlife, entertainment, forcing those who are in those jobs to move to lower cost housing areas such as Inland Empire. So what is the upside? What do we have to look for? What should we be looking out for in 2021 to improve our portfolio performance? So for those of you who may be looking outside of California, here are the top 10 emerging multifamily markets. These markets on this list have consistently outperformed the average in rental growth, employment, and construction over the past year. As you see, Colorado Springs has the highest price per unit at over $185,000. Reno, there's been a big surge and move to Reno. I know a lot of my friends have gone out in that direction. They have closed 1,330 units, and they have, in terms of construction, released to the market, and then 4,472 units are under construction. Whereas Omaha has realized the lowest unemployment rate, and Knoxville has the overall highest score. So if you're looking to do anything different with your portfolio, this might be your shopping list for 2021. So that's sort of the highlights on the market as relates to COVID's impact. Now I'm going to segue into the SB 91 and the key things that we need to know and are important to us as landlords, tenants, and management companies. So SB 91 extends AB 3099 through June 30th, 2021. There are still those breakdown of the different periods of time. They have been under SB 91 been extended. So we have some new dates to share. The covered period of time is March 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. The protected period now is March 1st, 2020 through August 31st, 2020. And the transition period is now at September 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. All the same guidelines are in place regarding those periods of time, whereas the tenants must sign the declaration and pay the 25% of the rent due in order to realize the protection of the eviction moratorium. Under SB 91, it will be releasing about $1.5 billion into the market of much needed rental assistance funding. But it comes with some guidelines and limitations as well with regards to evictions for non-payment, limitations to terminate tenancy for no fault just cause. It also limits collection of COVID-19 debt during those periods. And of course, it's put a hold on rolling out rent increases until 180 days post the transition period of time, which puts us all the way out to January 1, 2022. And further, it does have some increased punitive damages for certain acts. So as landlords and property management companies, we have to be very cautious and very careful as we move through this year. So let's focus on the positives of SB 91, the $1.5 billion that's going to be rolled out for assistance. It will be administered by HCD, the Housing and Community Development. 10% of those funds will be used for administration, and the balance will be rolled out to the local cities and counties so that they can distribute those as grants to landlords and tenants on or before March 15th, 2021. SB 91 also provides a safe harbor protecting landlords who choose to close common facilities such as pools, spas, laundry facilities, and so forth, under the direction of government or agency guidelines. As we move on to property management, given SB 91, serving you best in the near term and the long term. Some more key items that you need to be aware of. SB 91 does have a new guideline that must be issued on or before February 28th for any tenants who owe at least 1 month or greater in rent during the covered period of time, March 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2020. There are 4 new forms that need to be used. For the covered period, we have a form that covers the delinquent rent, and we have another form that covers all other income due. And for the transition period, it is the same. There is one form for the rent and one form for all other income. So we have 4 forms total. We have to be very careful to serve the right form to the right tenants, given the delinquent rent or other income that is due. So watch your tenant ledgers and let's be sure we serve the right forms. And if you have any questions or need any assistance with that, feel free to reach out to us. SB 91 prohibits using the security deposit to cover any of the COVID-91 debt or applying it for any prior period rent due without written consent from the tenants. SB 91 also prohibits using COVID-91 rental debt as a negative factor in reporting to the credit bureaus. It extends penalties for interrupting or disconnecting utility services to tenants in an effort to try to terminate the tenancy. And be very cautious with that, as tenants can take landlords to court and can get actual and punitive damages. So we don't want to be doing that. It also restricts the sale or assignment of COVID rental debt. So moving on to property management during COVID, evictions, do's and don'ts, given SB 91. It falls into 2 buckets. There's financial-based evictions and all other evictions. We'll cover all other evictions first. Tenant's failure to cure a material breach can be served a 3-day covenant. And then if they haven't cured that on that 3rd day, on the 4th day, you can serve the notice to terminate tenancy. So in a scenario, say you've gone to do an inspection of all the units in a particular property, and you've noted that tenants had modified, damaged, destroyed certain things within the unit, then you can serve them the 3-day notice. On the 4th day, you can come back in to re-inspect to determine whether or not that was cured. And if not, then you can go ahead and serve that tenant that notice and move forward to towards eviction. Another area we can address with the tenants is anybody committing nuisance or destruction to the common areas, illegal activity, and so forth, you can then serve the 3-day notice to surrender the possession based upon their conduct. Residential properties remain under AB 1482, just cause eviction terms from now until July 1, 2021. So if you're considering moving back into the unit as a landlord or taking that unit offline, be very cautious that you still stay within compliance of AB 1482. As we go over to the financial-based eviction options, the CDC did issue an order on January 29th, 2021, extending the nationwide eviction moratorium until March 31st, 2021. More judges are invoking the order and stay lockouts to occur on or after April 1, 2021. And those rules are being interpreted differently from court to court, judge to judge. So just be very cautious and careful with that. So that about wraps it up for us. Hopefully we have lots of comments and questions and look forward to interacting with you. We are Reynolds Realty Advisors. We are a full service property management company. We look forward to talking with you today and in the future about how we can support all of your property management needs. You can get in touch with us through our website at reynoldsrealtyadvisors.com. You can reach me directly at elizabeth@reynoldsrealtyadvisors.com. And you can reach us on via phone at 866-613-7772. And feel free to follow us. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and all of the platforms. So with that, Jeff, I'll turn it back over to you and we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And I forgot to mention that you can subscribe to our AOA, the AOA USA on YouTube. You can subscribe to that and hit the notification bell there, and then you'll get updates. We want to keep you in the know. And Elizabeth, she'll be back, and we'll have others as well that are going to help give you updates on landlord-tenant things and other ways to help you either make more or save more. And so that's great. And we'll go ahead and start with the questions here. I have one on Facebook, Debbie Farmer. Let's see, Farmer Crouch, here we go. What can landlords do about the tenants who either don't cooperate with the government program or don't qualify?
For the government financial assistance?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, if they don't qualify and they're not approved, that does put it in a difficult situation. Obviously, we can work through promise to pays and hopefully work out a situation that way. And then short of that, then we start to have those more difficult conversation, which is, keys for possession. If this isn't really going to work for you right now, we certainly don't want an eviction on your record, and we don't want to put anybody in a difficult situation. So we can go for a win-win solution and work through that.
Right. I know no one has a crystal ball, but Shane is asking just for your opinion here. Housing prices have skyrocketed. Can you talk about when you think that those prices might drop?
That is a very good question. And I wish I knew the answer. What I do know from being in the industry for the better part of 30 years, I think, is that the real estate market does tend to be on a 10-year cycle, the rise and the fall. We've had significant corrections back in 2007 and 2008 when we had the fallout of subprime lending and all of those related factors, and we had a long recovery there. I think the market will continue to have adjustments, but real estate is always a great investment. Interest rates are at an all-time low. It is amazing. I mean, and we have access to money now. The loan to values are very high. So we have the ability to buy, we have great interest rates. I think whether you get in now or tomorrow, just know it's a long-term play, real estate, however you position it or design it. And it's a wonderful leveraged asset for which you can cash out refi and expand your portfolio.
Great. And like they always say, the best real estate is the one you bought 20 years ago.
Amen.
So here we have Edgar on YouTube. Does the state of California have a current freeze on rent increases in 2021?
Yes. You cannot increase your rents until 180 days or 6 months past the end of the transition period. So it puts us all the way out now till January 1, 2022. Unfortunately, we're all frustrated with that. I know.
Right. And that could also change
It could change.
if they expand it, right?
Mhm. If
What's your gut? Do you think that it'll get extended once again?
I hope not.
I know, of course, you don't have the crystal ball, but do you think it will be? Because that is one of the questions here in the
I know
chat.
that if we continue to support associations such as AOA and we band together to make change for the better for all of us, we'll all be better off. So that would be my best recommendation, because I have no idea what's going to happen beginning of next year. Who would have thought we would have started off this year this way?
Right. You know, Elizabeth, I love that answer because it's so true. Like, if we speak up, if we write a letter, then we can really make a difference. And we think that we can't, but actually it's really not true. You can make a difference. And so even with this video, you can rewind later on after it's all done. It's on YouTube at AOA USA. It's on that thing. Just go back to it and rewind, and you can see where to send letters if you can't find it on Google in a search.
Right. And
so I love that.
A great example of that is Robinhood. Look what happened to GameStop. That was a game changer in the stock market. You know, we can change the real estate market when we band together.
Yeah, that's right. Here we go. Hector on YouTube. My tenant passed away from COVID. She was the only one on the agreement. Her grandson was taking care of her. The grandson took illegally possession on the unit. Can I evict him?
Wow, that's a tough scenario. I think I'm a little taken back by the question. That's so sad.
I know it.
Well, he doesn't have the right to be in the unit. It sounds like he's come in and squatted. I would definitely talk with legal counsel to get specific direction on that scenario to assess that whole situation. That sounds fairly complex, and I am not an attorney.
Right. All right, next question from Irma. Can RSO and CSEP fees be recovered at this time? For those that don't know, CSEP is Systematic Code Enforcement Program. Can those fees be recovered at this time?
I don't have a good answer for that. I'll have to defer back to maybe the association on that one.
Right, so call in and talk to our advisors. They'll give you property management advice, and they would be able to share more about that with you. All right, so next question. My tenant moved in her adult. Okay, the tenant had their adult nephew move in. Can I evict her?
Likely due to violation of the lease. Take a look at who's allowed to be a tenant in the lease, and then get with legal counsel and have them review that as well, and then you can move forward accordingly. Likely, the only people who can live in a unit are the tenants that are on the lease, and likely anybody visiting is only allowed to be there for a limited period of time. So it's likely a breach of the lease. Yes.
Right. And, even for you, like if you've had an experience like this, then go ahead and just share. Yeah, we had someone do that, and, we did X, Y, Z. If you share from your experience, then that would be great too. And it depends on, there's so many different variables with that. On Facebook, Hilda, my tenant doesn't sign the declaration form. And so what are my options? This is actually a really good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. If they have delinquency during the transition period of time, they've not paid the 25% or signed the declaration, you can move forward with that eviction. But
right.
Get with your attorney. I wouldn't suggest doing any of this on your own at this juncture. But yeah, that would give you an option to take that direction.
Okay, now with that, there is the chance that they could submit that declaration form once you've filed for the eviction, right? So there is a little bit of
That is true.
there's a big risk there, right?
Right. There is that risk that you pay some attorney fees and they then sign the declaration. So, a lot of folks are waiting to which time we can, on July 2nd of this year, if they are late on their July rent, we serve them a 3-day pay or quit. And they don't, so we can move forward back to that. So we can serve the 3-day pay or quit on July 2nd. So if you're concerned that we're now in February, they're getting behind, if by the time I get to legal, then, oh my goodness, they signed the form, there is the other avenue of just know that come July 2nd, if they haven't paid that rent, you can start that eviction process for that. And then it's always, and we've had these conversations, keys for possession. If this isn't working out for you, you don't want to have anything derogatory on your record like an eviction. So let's negotiate keys for possession. Even if you pay to relocate them, it's going to be less costly than them staying.
Right. Okay, Sandy on Facebook. Can rent be raised to cover the cost increases during this period?
Unfortunately, there's no rent increases until the 1st of next year. And we can't charge for any services that we used to provide for free. So we can't make those changes right now. It'll be seen as retaliatory as well.
I would love to see the day when we no longer have career politicians, when we actually have politicians that have balanced a checkbook and balanced a budget before in office, because they wouldn't make rules. They wouldn't do what they're doing to us. They just wouldn't, because they'd understand how costs have increased for you. And this is just, they're trying to make a socialist system work here in a country that isn't based on that. So we feel for you. And Hermosa property in the city of LA, we did not give the September notice for fear of harassment per the tenant warning. Are we giving the new document now? Should we do the September notice now as well? What would you do?
I would serve the new guidelines and the new forms now, and make sure you're serving the right forms under SB 91.
Right. And all those, there are forms, by the way, like Elizabeth mentioned, that you can call them. And also AOA has forms on the site, aoausa.com. You can get those forms actually for free. They're up there, they're updated. So you can get those forms. If you're a member with us, you can call in and ask how to use those forms. Yes. And on YouTube, here we have DN. If a tenant is on assistance, is the 25% for their share of the total rent?
Well, they're required to sign the declaration for the delinquent rent during the transition period of time and pay 25% of the rent due. If they haven't done that, then we can move forward with eviction. But as we talked about earlier, they might sign the declaration. That puts us back in that quandary. And I'm not sure if I understood. Was there?
And here's the second part of the question.
Mm-hmm.
And then if so, would that mean that most of the Section 8 tenants don't have to pay anything?
I see. So if Section 8 has paid their portion and that covers the 25%, then yeah, they would be protected under the guidelines. As long as funds, however those funds got to be received, were paid the equal 25% for that period of time of rent due.
Right, and I've heard other things with. I'm not sure. I think I may have heard someone else say something different. You might hear different things from different people on that one. I'm not sure. Anna on YouTube. If you start a new tenancy, do you need to give any notices as of March 1st, 2021? So maybe they started a new tenancy this month.
No.
All right. LLC group. What is the best way to exhibit vacancies to prospective rental applicants during the pandemic?
The best way to market the vacancies on your units?
Yeah, I think that'd be, yep.
We are definitely putting them all over social media. I mean, now's the time to do your virtual tours. It really helps. Everybody's looking online. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are looking to get out of the gateway areas and go into another city or county, or sometimes changing over states. So definitely keep your videos current, keep your posts current, all the different platforms. Use all of the different marketing tools, and I think that'll serve you well during this time.
Great. And just also make sure you have your list of requirements too, so that you don't waste your time or their time. And
yes. Yes.
Right. Here's Tracy. Can you comment on the ability of housing assistance programs to compete in the rising rental climate?
That's a good question. Well, what we have seen is a wider variety of assistance and programs becoming available. And as I mentioned earlier, the rental rates are holding or slightly increasing in some areas, the Inland Empire areas. So I think they're holding up pretty well, and there's more funds available than there probably has ever been before to support tenants who are having a difficulty. Whether or not that's making market or breaking market rents, they might some of them may fall a little bit short, but we have seen more tenants getting assistance than really ever before.
Yeah. Okay, Jennifer on YouTube. In California, can you do late fees right now?
No late fees.
Okay. And it doesn't matter whether they've had a COVID hardship or not. So no late fees.
That would be very much frowned on in a court of law in front of a judge at this point.
Yeah. So I'm glad you tuned in. And so clarification, Kevin, he's like, hold on. So you can't raise any rents until January 2022. That's his
January 1, 2022, right.
Right. And that's if we only go to, what is it, June 31st or whatever. And if it gets extended out, then it's going to change from January 20.
180 days after the end of the transition period. So to your point, Jeff, if the transition period extends, those 180 days are further out. Yeah.
Right.
Knock on wood, that's the new date.
Right. And like you said, get those letters written.
Yeah.
Make your voice heard. And again, it's grassroots. Everybody's got to speak up. Okay, Katrina. Just asking for a definition of what's a promise to pay. I think you did talk. Yeah, anyway, I'll let you answer.
Yeah. So a lot of times we're working with tenants who are having difficulties. They will advise us, look, we've been impacted by COVID. We've had reduction in income. Our paychecks come in at different times. We can't necessarily get the rent to you by the 1st, but we can do a payment in the 1st of the month. We can do another payment towards the end of the month. Or let's say they owe $10,000. And some have actually worked out a payback plan where they're paying an additional amount with each monthly rental payment in order to pay it down. We've seen great success with that with a number of our tenants. Doesn't always work with everybody, but it's working out a payback plan. We write up an agreement that they sign with how much they're going to pay over each period of time. And we have seen great success with that. So it's just really trying to collaborate with the tenants, create the win-win situation, let them know we're here for you. We're here for you during this difficult time. And we want to come out ahead in the end.
Okay, here's a good question. If my houses are not under AB 1482, can I raise the rents? I have all single family homes.
They don't fall under AB 1482 because you personally own them and they're not in a REIT or an entity or an organization. Yes.
Okay, we sent certified mail form SB 91 to our tenant who owes us rent. Are we to send the receipt and the confirmation card that tenant received the letter to the court with the proof of service?
We just keep everything in the tenant file. I mean, that's good information to hold on to. Now, if you're in a situation where you're going to be appearing in court or you're moving forward to go to court, then you would have to have all that information with you, but there's no need to particularly send in any documentation to the court unless there's a case related to that tenant.
All right, here's one from Stefan. If we evict tenants after July 1st, 2021 for just cause, do we have to pay relocation fees for the tenants?
Right now, there's limitation on eviction for just cause. So
after July 1st.
after July 1st. So there is the 1 month. If you, yeah. So this, yeah, it still falls under, it still falls under the 1 month. That's correct.
Okay, great. Great question. Thank you. And Julia, can I charge tenant for PG&E overages?
So that situation is PG&E being your, the power.
I'm guessing, yeah.
Yeah, the overages, and you're paying the
Power, gas, and electric. Yeah, that's what, yeah.
because usually, well, in our scenarios, our tenants pay their own electric. They pay their own gas. So, yeah, I would fall back to the terms of your lease. If it isn't a major change, you probably have something in the lease that says utilities have to be within a certain limit. And if that doesn't exceed that limit, it's probably nothing you could pass on to them. Most of the time, though, tenants are paying for their own utilities, and we're just paying for the common areas, the house accounts, and things like that. But you can certainly reach out to us and give us a call. We could talk through more of the details on that scenario.
Right, and in the instance where they don't have their own electric meter, water meter, and all those things, do you guys use a RUBS program, Elizabeth?
We have some portfolios that are using the RUBS program, and that works very well. And we have others that don't. We have kind of both scenarios. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And there is AOA website. If you go there, we do have a RUBS program, so you can reach out to that. Even if you just have a few units, it's not just for big property management companies. Even the little guys can get access to that, and that way you can kind of lock in that variable expense instead of having to pay the overages yourself there. Yeah, but that, of course, has to work out in time because you can't just throw it on them.
Right.
All right.
And now's not a time where we can make those kind of changes either, right?
Right.
You provided it for free before. We can't charge for it now because we have a hold on rent increases, and we can't charge for things we used to give away for free. So now might not be the right time to make those changes, but they are. But if it doesn't fall under all of these guidelines, it's a scenario where you're not restricted, then yeah, I think it's a great program. And once we get past these restricted times, I agree, it is a great program, and it works very well.
Great. Here's Pei Sung on Facebook. What about paid 25% but not signing declaration?
Yeah, that is a common question, right? As we talked about earlier, the tenant could have paid the 25% but not signed the declaration. So if you move forward with an attorney for an eviction, you might find that when you get to court or when they send them the notice, they do sign the declarations. That will delay you moving forward without eviction. So that is just something to consider.
Great. And another one from Facebook, Monica. My tenant started paying the 25% in October and refused to pay it for September because he said he is covered under LA City program. Is he right?
If he's in an unincorporated city with some different guidelines or something, that may be something that we could talk about in more detail. But the general rule under SB 91 is that as long as they pay 25% of the delinquency and sign the declaration, they are protected.
Right. And people just still need confirmation, just still looking to understand when they can raise their rents. And we've asked this question, but we'll just a little bit differently. It's being asked from Maria. May I raise my may I raise my rents for new tenants to the building?
Yeah, right now, the first date we can move forward with rent increases is January 1, 2022. And if anything changes, I'm sure we'll be talking about that in future Zoom meetings. But right now, that's as soon as we can do it.
So let's say someone vacated the building, vacated their unit, and you were renting it for $2,000. To the next person, can you raise the rent? The incoming tenant, can you raise the rent for them? Can you start the rent off at $2,500? I think that's the question they're asking there.
Oh, okay, yeah. If you're doing a turnover and you've done a renovation, you made the appropriate upgrades to the unit to constitute bringing it up to market. You would be able to then list it at market. A lot of times you want to have your pricing guidelines. You know, you might have a Class A unit that's priced at $2,500, and you might have Class B units that haven't been upgraded that are renting at $2,000. And in the guideline, you might also include what requirements you have of a new incoming tenant. You have to have your guidelines documented, and it's best to have them in the, you know, those guidelines in the lease as well. Always good to be consistent.
All right. Here's Vanessa on Facebook. Does SB 91 notices have to have been given if I'm currently in the eviction process with a tenant?
I would, if you're already in eviction in that particular scenario, I'd probably just check in with my attorney, say, you know, hey, where are we at? When do you think we're going to be in front of the judge? If this is going to get prolonged, do we need to be serving that and including that? My guess would be like you need to keep all of the documentation going. They are still a tenant, even though you're moving or waiting to get to court. But just get consult with the attorney that you're working with, just to be sure.
Right. Here's Darius. In order to receive the SB 91 benefits, must the tenant already have been served a 15-day notice detailing what they owe?
Well, for sure, we need to serve the guidelines and the proper 15-day forms between now and the end of February 28th, for sure. The benefits that I see of SB 91, one for the tenants is, you know, they get the eviction moratorium. But two, for landlords and tenants, we have funds. So for the funding that we want to get, we want to encourage our tenants who are struggling to apply. You know, call the cities, find out what forms to use, start applying for those, for your portion of the $1.5 billion that are being rolled out to assist these tenants. And you as a landlord can apply on their behalf. So you can fill out those forms, you know, have them sign it, and you can apply for the funds. And we've seen anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 in assistance coming to some of our tenants. We're taking an active role in engaging with our tenants and our landlords to try to make sure we get as much of that aid as possible. So I'm trying to answer that part of the benefit side, you know, of the question.
And can you receive a benefit if you're evicting now?
Can you receive? Oh, if you're in eviction, yeah, that's a touchy question. I would ask my attorney. I mean, I think if you're moving forward to an eviction, if you're going to sort of revert out of the eviction and maybe not move forward with that, and you might be taking a different direction, then you might be considering helping them to get the funding in order to forego the eviction or something to that regard. But again, for each individual case, definitely going to consult the attorney you're working with.
Okay, here's Pearl. When giving the notice of COVID-19 tenant relief, are landlords required to provide the tenant the declaration form to complete when they have paid the 25%?
Yes, they have to do both. They have to both sign the declaration and pay the 25% to fall under the eviction moratorium protection.
Okay. People continuing to ask about whether they can raise rents, and it's no, unless you're dealing with a brand new person. And yeah, so.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, here's Theresa. Can I give them a 60 days notice because we're contemplating to sell our rental property?
to sell the rental property. Yeah, yes, you fall back under AB 1482. So just review those guidelines regarding that you're going to be selling or you're going to take occupancy or any of those scenarios. Check your lease term because you want to make sure the tenant would be on a month-to-month at that point, but that should be fine.
Here's one from Brandon. Can I refuse to rent to Section 8 based that I only do month to month and not a lease?
As my understanding, we need to be accepting tenants with all kinds of assistance programs at this time. So we can talk specifically about that scenario and explore that a little bit more. You can give us a call. But that's sort of the general guideline at this time is we're not really discriminating against any particular program.
Right. Okay. Do you think LA County will continue? Okay, yeah, that's one we already asked. Okay, let's see, here's another one. Ming Chen, I sent the 15-day notice with the old California notice from April through August 2020 and the September 2020 through December 2020. Got declaration from the tenants. Do I have to resend the 15-day notice for last year with the SB 91 notice?
I'm not sure I tracked with that.
Do they need to send out the new notices for the old time?
Yeah, I mean, if they still owe any delinquency during that transition period of time or COVID period of time, you want to definitely send the guideline and the appropriate 15-day notice, whether it's rental income or other income. You want to send those out between now and the end of the month for sure. Just to cover your bases, even if you've sent old forms in the past, you need to start the new forms this month. And we continue to serve the 15-day notices every month until we work out a solution with that tenant. You want to cover bases because that amount doesn't go away. In fact, it grows. So those 15-day notices aren't a one-time deal. They're each month for the right amounts due at that time.
Okay, here's a great question from David. I think he'll like your answer. What are the chances of evicting one tenant in an LA rent control duplex for leaving 2 or 3 abandoned cars killing the grass?
So it's likely a breach of the lease, right? Because you're probably going to say parking, parking is limited number of spaces. They have to be operational vehicles. They're not for storing, so you can probably move forward due to breach of lease. We certainly don't allow non-operational cars or cars in red zones or tow zones or anything like that. So very likely you have grounds.
Right. Notice to cure, would it be? To cure, you have to give them time to.
Notice to cure, right? And then you can move forward. Mm-hmm.
Great. Bill Fairchild, are you saying we cannot not increase rents? Yeah.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Not this year.
So we've had so many of those questions. Okay.
I know. Everybody's really wanting to pull the trigger. We all want to, because as you mentioned earlier, Jeff, costs aren't coming down. It's a lot more time consuming and costly to administer and manage properties during this time. That's why, again, I say, it's very complicated. We're all talking about a lot of the details. So if you don't want to worry about those, give us a call. But because you definitely have to do it and do it right, because you don't want to end up on the other side in front of the judge.
Right. And there's a ton more questions here, and we've reached the end of our time. Yes. And so again, Elizabeth with Reynolds Realty Advisors, she's offered to give you her advice. You can give her a call, and you should see a number there for her and her team. Again, 40 years experienced, very seasoned, and they'll tell you what they do. And you can call AOA if you're a member, and if you're not a member, please join for sure. And on the website, the AOAUSA.com website, there is a COVID section. If you click in there, you'll see the different forms that you need. And go ahead, join, and you can ask us how to use the forms. That'll help you. Don't forget about the document screening that I mentioned earlier today. Don't let, stay in the know. We're here to help keep you in the know. And one of the things that you need to know is this really their bank statement or not? Is this really their pay stub or not? Because you don't want to get a deadbeat. You want someone that's going to be paying you the rent. So if they're going to start off like that, it's not going to finish well. And whether they think they can fake it till they make it or not, just not going to work. And then again, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and sign up with our newsletter as well. If you go to the AOAUSA.com website, at the bottom on the right side, you can sign up for the newsletter, and you'll just get that e-newsletter. It's free, and we'll just send you updates on things that are going on in the industry, and when we're doing new, just when we're doing new live streams. And Elizabeth, any last comments before we close out?
Thank you, Jeff, and all of AOA. Thank you all for joining and attending. I look forward to hearing from all of you and working with you in the future. Thank you again.
All right.
Have a great
Oh
day.
yeah, and remember, next week again we'll be back here, and there's going to be a guy that comes on, techie guy, and he's going to bring you some other ways that you can increase your income on your rental properties, and so you'll want to hear that. And a partial exchange. So there's two different ones, one at 10, one at 11:30. So you'll want to tune in for those or catch them later. And again, on the YouTube, if you go there and search AOA USA, you'll see all of the videos. You can check out Elizabeth from last year. You can check the legislative update that Michael Brennan did. You can check out so many different things. So make sure you educate yourself. You sacrificed and you did so much to become a housing provider. And so continue with the education that's needed to maximize all of your sacrifice and hard work. Again, we'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody. Thank you again, Elizabeth.
Well, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
That was